9:15, it's the morning show with Jeff and Will on AM 1700 WRCR, Haverstraw, WRCR.com. Welcome back, everybody. Joining us now, Tina Traster of RCBizJournal.com. That's the Rockland County Business Journal. Tina, how you doing?
Good morning, everybody. I want to, on behalf of Rockland County Business Journal, express our sadness and condolences to the Woods family over the sudden passing of Mark Woods, who was most recently a councilman in the town of Clarkstown. His death came as a big shock, I think, to everybody, and so we're all very sad about that. And again, I want to send out our condolences to his family.
Yeah, that was a shock when we first heard about that on Friday afternoon here at the station, because he did a show monthly here on WRCR, and we got to know him fairly well, and it's just a terrible, terrible loss.
I know, and really so young.
Yeah.
I know. But life is unpredictable, and as you know. So, so anyway, I wanted to say that first and foremost. Just two housekeeping items. I wanted to say that we're going to have the next Coffee with the Editor on June 19th at 8:30 at Roasted in Nanuet. So if you've got things that you want to chat about, come on down at 8:30, June 19th. That's a Wednesday morning at 8:30. And the other thing I wanted to mention, shameless plug, is that unrelated to Rockland County Business Journal, I am having a photography show called American Beauty throughout the month of July at the Valley Cottage Library, and there will be a reception on July 13th from 1 to 3, and I hope to see some people there. Okay, moving on. Unless you have any thoughts or questions that you want to throw at me.
No, I'm hip into the photography scene. Maybe I'll go take a peek at what's going on over there.
Oh, I hope so. It's between 1 and 3, and the show will be mounted on July 1st, and it'll run for the month. The Valley Cottage Library, they do a really wonderful job with the wall when you first come in. To the left, they use it as exhibit space, and I am humbled to be part of one of many amazing artists that display their work, their paintings, watercolors, oils, other photographers. I've been, tracking it very closely these many months, and I have to say we have many talented people living among us, and kudos to the library for using its space to allow people to share these works. So I'm really excited about this.
I always find the libraries in general throughout the county do an excellent job of doing things that you might not think that you could find at a library necessarily, and B, didn't even realize you had an interest in, and can learn a whole lot of things about a whole lot of stuff you probably weren't even aware that you needed to know. And they're good at doing that. They've always been good at doing that, and I hope libraries still have a place in our paths for a long time to come.
I say forever. I'm going to go out on a limb there and say libraries will have a place forever. So
I hope so.
Truly believe that.
Yep.
So we put up a fun story about the Marcello's graduate Lloyd Leon, who, along with Ariel Osgang and another individual, another partner, are betting on not only their own chops and their own concepts and their interest in food and wine, but they're betting on Suffern. They recently opened up a restaurant called Lavagna, which in Italian means blackboard, to kind of suggest that things change up every day, all the time, and so the whole place sort of is blackboard, surrounded in blackboards. It's sort of fun interior. But what interests us in this story is kind of two things. One is the genesis of how this partnership came about, and two, the idea of potentially how perhaps one restaurant or two restaurants, become the magnet for more of the same and are potentially a shot in the arm to give a place like Suffern the boost that it needs. Now, sadly, Java Love came and went. This was a, high-end, trendy coffee shop that had taken over the old bank building. And those women were pretty seasoned at what they did. They had two places in Montclair, New Jersey, and a place upstate, a place called White Lake. And I think that when they opened up their roasters in Suffern, I think they believed the concept would work. Now, maybe it was pandemic related, maybe it's internal to their operations, but for whatever reason, it really didn't last more than a few years. And so I don't know if that says more about coffee or if it says more about the place, not having enough foot traffic, not having enough cachet. We can only kind of speculate here. But a name who many know, Ariel Wolfgang, who is an architect and who very much believes in Suffern and who has made other investments in Suffern, bought that building back in January for $1.2 million, and I think he bought it without certainly having a specific plan, but only figuring that something would work there. And he and Lloyd Leon, who had worked for Marcello's, the well-known Italian restaurateur for 25 years.
Friend of the show here at the morning show with Jeff and Will.
Right,
Yep.
Exactly. And is now giving tours in Italy. Lucky him. But anyway, I think they've kind of paper napkined their way into starting with a paper napkin idea that has, manifested into what is certainly going to be an ambitious restaurant for the county, for Suffern. I say that because, it's got a whole emphasis on fresh produce and food and wine and kind of the whole food event. And they do have an interesting menu. They have also a seasoned chef. His name is David Warner, who really came from the city, all kinds of high-profile places. And, the idea here is to put in a lot of investment, create something high-end, and see if it, I would say, not only sticks, and we do wish them the best, but also to see if it stimulates, others in the same vein. Suffern's interesting. It's got the architecture, it's got the bones, it's got the views, it's got the train. It's starting to have more residential buildings, more residential, apartment, which is, critical, I think, to fill restaurants. You need those masses. But I think that these restaurateurs are well aware that they will have to probably draw from even beyond Rockland County to make this sort of place work. I really found when we interviewed him, and we put up a long story, but Leon has really interesting background in that he, did not come from a house where he was, taught at the hands of a grandmother cooking. Like that, you hear that from many a chef. Not his journey at all. He was telling us, and we've written that he's from a Cuban family, and there were mounds and mounds of food on the table. But there was never really that exposure to the whole, fineries of the restaurant world. And that, he started as a busboy and in a kitchen at 14 and just has never really left the restaurant world, except that he, and this is key to the restaurant, is along the way and at the knee of Marcello's, he learned the wine business. And he has been to Italian wineries and he's vineyards, and he's really a student of wine, and he brings this to this new venture, and so go check it out. It will be interesting, both as an eating experience and also kind of an experiment in what this restaurant may be able to bring to Suffern. So, questions, thoughts?
No, it sounds like an exciting time for him, and hopefully that does pan out well for him.
I hope so. Good wishes to him.
Yes.
And his partners. So, on another subject, since we still have a couple minutes, so we had our columnist Paul Adler write a piece this week called New York's Faith-Based Affordable Housing, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And he really actually did quite a job with this column laying this thing out. You know that the issue of affordable housing in New York, especially in suburban communities, is a critical concern to Kathy Hochul, the governor. And one of her responses is something called the New York Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act, which would seek to leverage basically underutilized land owned by faith-based organizations like churches, synagogues, and mosques for the development of affordable housing. Now, I don't have to tell you that, of course, there's been opposition to that, and several of our towns have already signed resolutions in opposition to this. But the underlying intent of this is to basically create housing opportunities without the high cost of land acquisition and using properties that have basically central locations within communities. However, the underbelly of this, the flip side, the part that has everybody's head on fire, is that it raises significant concerns regarding the governance, local governance, and the impact on neighborhoods. So, in brief, the good would be that it would maximize underutilized land, strengthen communities, and reduce government expenditures since the land is already owned by nonprofits and exempt from taxes. The bad, in the good, bad, and the ugly here, is a loss of local control. And this home rule thing is always features prominently in everything, in every proposal in all of our politics. And so one of the major criticisms is that the bill would diminish the power of local zoning boards and planning authorities, who one likes to presume, are best positioned to understand and manage these specific needs and dynamics of the communities. And so by potentially bypassing local zoning laws, the bill could lead to developments that some say would be out of sync with local planning strategies, comprehensive plans, long-term visions. There's also, the potential for a lot of community resistance, although because this is only theoretical right now, we haven't really seen that sort of thing yet. And though faith-based organizations are, integral to the communities, rezoning and development can and often meets with significant resistance from people when a specific development is proposed, and then they show up. And then, of course, there's just, the question of, do we have the infrastructure for this? When you develop affordable housing, it's more than just, buildings. It's all the infrastructure, roads, schools, sewers, water supplies, public transportation, and healthcare services.
And all those details can be found in this article right there on rcbizjournal.com. Tina, thank you so much for joining us as always. We will talk to you again. We won't be here next Monday. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.
All right. Have a good week.
Thanks. You too.